to talk about negative exponents, and we have this really big chart, okay, and all we're going to do is use our calculator to fill it in. So I've got some of these already in here, and you're just going to go put in your calculator 2 to the third. Well, 2 to the third, when you put in your calculator, you're going to get 8, okay, 2 to the first, that's going to be 2, okay. All you have to do is put these in your calculator. You're going to put 2 to the negative 2 in your calculator, you're going to get 1 over 4. And 2 to the negative 3, you're going to get 1 over 8. Alright, so before I go and start filling this in, I want to see if you notice anything interesting when I look at these negative exponents, okay? 2 to the fourth is 16, but 2 to the negative fourth is 1 over 16. 2 to the third is 8, 2 to the negative third is 1 over 8. Are we noticing anything interesting here? 2 to the second is 4. 2 to the negative second is 1 over 4. So all that is happening here is that if it's a negative exponent, where is it moving? It's moving to the denominator. Alright, and so we're looking at this pattern here. To go up the ladder, all we're doing is we are multiplying by 2, because 1 half times 2 would be 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. To go up the ladder, we're multiplying by 2. But to go down the ladder, well, how do you get from 8 to 16? You're dividing by 2. How do you get from 8 to 4? You're dividing by 2. Alright, down here, how do you get from 1 to 1 half? You're dividing by 2. Alright, so now we're just going to apply this, that the negative exponent moves to the denominator on these right here, okay? So I've got x to the negative fourth. There's a big rule. In your final answer, you cannot have negative exponents. That's why we got to fix these. Alright, so all we have to do to make it positive is move it to the denominator. So x to the negative 4, that's going to become 1 over x to the fourth. Because if there's nothing in the numerator, when we move it, we're just going to put a 1. We can't leave that blank. Alright, ooh, I've got a negative exponent. That's not okay, so I'm going to move it to the denominator, 1 over 6 to the third. But I can actually come in here and simplify this even more. I can figure out that 6 to the third is 216, so this finally is just going to be 1 over 216. Alright, same thing on 3. No negative exponent, so it's got to go to the denominator. So I've got 1 over 2 to the fifth, and I'm going to simplify that to 1 over 32. Okay, number 4 is a little weird, though, because it's already in the denominator. So if it's already in the denominator, we're going to move it to the numerator. Okay, so basically, if it's negative in the numerator, it goes to the denominator. If it's negative in the denominator, it goes to the numerator. So this would be coming up and make it x to the fifth. I can't simplify that anymore, so this guy's going to stay x to the fifth. Alright, I've got m to the negative 2 in the denominator. I'm going to move it up to the numerator and make it positive. I'm going to have 1 m to the second, or that could just be m to the second. Alright, same thing on 6. It's negative in the denominator, so I'm going to move it up to the numerator. It's going to become m to the positive 2, or raised to the positive 2. Not m, sorry, 10. And I can actually simplify this. I know 10 to the second is 100. Alright, looking at 7, 8, and 9, okay? There is nothing wrong with this 5. There's nothing wrong with the x to the second, but, ooh, I know I can't have negative exponents, so all I'm moving is that negative exponent. 5x squared is going to stay the same, but y to the third's got to come to the denominator so it can become positive. Alright, number 8, I've got a negative 2. Y'all, that negative 2 is your coefficient. You can have negative coefficients, so that negative 2 is going to stay. A to the negative 4, I can't have a negative exponent, so I'm going to move that guy to the denominator. B to the 6 is positive, so he can stay. Alright, number 9, I've got 2 negative exponents. I can't have negative exponents in my final answer, so those are both going to move down to the denominator. Well, there's already y to the second in the denominator that's going to stay. If I've got nothing in my numerator, I'm going to put a 1. Alright. Alright, we're going to keep on simplifying. Some of these are going to get a little spicier, but this guy right here, okay, I need to look at it first and realize I do have negative exponents, which aren't okay, but I also have a's in the numerator and the denominator and b's, okay? The first thing I like to do is get rid of your negative exponents, because positive numbers are a lot easier to deal with. So let's get rid of our negative exponents first, and then we can go in and simplify. All right, a to the third's fine. B to the sixth, that's got to come to the denominator because it's negative. So that's going to come down here. This a is fine because it's positive, but this b to the negative 2 is not okay, so it's got to come up to the numerator because it is negative. All right, now I'm going to come in here and simplify. I can put a 1 there if there's not an exponent, and this is the quotient rule, and I need to remember that when I do the quotient rule, what do you do with your exponents? You're going to subtract. So I'm going to have 3 minus 1, which is 2, a to the second in the numerator because the 3 is bigger. And then I'm going to do 6 minus 2, which is 4, so b to the 4th in the denominator. All right, number 11, I'm going to get rid of my negative exponents first because that's just going to make my life a little bit easier. This 12's got to come down to the denominator. So does this 6 because they're both negative. And then this negative 10's got to come up to the numerator, and so does this negative 3. Now I'm going to come in and do the quotient rule. I'm going to subtract my exponents. I'm going to do 12 minus 10, which is 2, so r to the second in the denominator. And then I'm going to do 6 minus 3, which is 3, m to the third in the denominator. There's nothing else there, so 1's going to go in the numerator. All right. Number 12, we're going to deal with these negative exponents first. The only negative exponent I have right here is this a to the negative 5. So that's the only thing that's got to move. Everything else is going to stay the same. All right, so now this looks a little weird. I got 2 a's here. Well, y'all, this is really a to the first and a to the 5th. When I do the product rule, because really this is all multiplication, I'm going to add those together. So now this is going to become 3b to the 4th. Negative 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, a to the 6, b to the 6. All right, now I can keep simplifying this. I'm going to simplify my coefficients. I'm going to put those in my fraction button in my calculator. And I'm going to have a negative 1 over 5. Okay, remember you can have negative coefficients. Then I'm going to simplify my a's. Well, I don't have any a's in my numerator, so it's going to stay a to the 6 in the denominator. And then I'm going to do my b's. I'm going to do 6 minus 4, which is 2, and 6 is bigger, so b to the second is going in the denominator. All right, 13. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my negative exponents. Remember, negative coefficients are okay, so those are going to stay the same. These guys are going to have to switch because they're both negative. Oh, whoops, that should be a c to the 15th. All right, and my j's are fine because they are both positive. Now I'm going to come in here and start simplifying. Negative 10 over 20, that's going to go in my fraction button. That's going to become a negative 1 over 2. I'm going to subtract my c, so I'm going to have 15 minus 6, which is 9, c to the 9th in the denominator. And if I do 4 minus 4, I get 0, so those guys actually cancel. So that is your final answer right there. 14, we're going to get rid of our negative exponents first. If it's not a negative exponent, we're not going to fool with it right now. So m to the negative 8, that's going to come to the denominator. K to the 4th can stay. R to the negative 10, that's got to go to the denominator. This m to the 4th can stay. This k can stay. But this r to the negative 7's got to come up to the numerator because it was negative. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to start simplifying, okay? First thing I'm going to do is, I realize I've got 2 m's here. Let's go ahead and combine those. I've got m to the 4th and m to the 8th, which is going to become m to the 12th. So we're going to have 24 k to the 4th, r to the 7th, over 30 m to the 12th, r to the 10th, k. All right, and if you want to put a 1 on that k, you can. Now we're going to simplify. We're going to use our fraction button, 24 over 30. That is going to become, divided by 6, 4 over 5. All right, I'm going to look at my k's. I've got k to the 4th here, k to the 1st here. So that's going to become k to the 3rd in the numerator because 4 minus 1 is 3. I'm going to look at my r's. I've got r to the 7th, r to the 10th. So I'm going to do 10 minus 7, which is 3, so r to the 3rd. And the only thing I don't have to fool with anything else is this m to the 12th. So it's just going to stay in my denominator. Okay? All right, 15. Again, only switch your negative exponents first. Everything else is going to stay the same. If it's positive, we are not going to fool with it. All right, this j is fine. This k to the negative 9, that's going to come to the denominator. This k to the negative 7 in the denominator is going to have to come up to the numerator, and so is this k to the 4th. Now I'm working with all positive exponents, which is what I like. Okay, I see there's two j's here, so I can go ahead and combine those. And this is going to become 15d to the 6th, j to the 8th, k to the 4th, because that's really a 1, over 18d to the 6th, k to the 9th. Now I'm going to come in and start simplifying. Okay, in my fraction button, I'm putting 15 over 18, which is going to become 5 over 6, I think. Yep. D to the 6 over D to the 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Those are going to cancel. This j to the 8th doesn't have anything to simplify with, but I know that 9 minus 4 is 5, so I'm going to have k to the 5th in the denominator. All right, now we got this going on right here. Okay, I've got a negative exponent that I've got to distribute. I'm going to go ahead and fool with that first, okay, because it might clear some of this up because negatives times negatives are positives. So remember, this is the power rule. So I'm going to be multiplying exponents. All right, so negative 3 times negative 3, negative 3 times negative 2, that's a positive 6. This is a 1, so y, negative 3 times 1 is a negative 3, and z, negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. Now, I know in the end I cannot have negative exponents, so if it's negative, I've got to move it. My k to the 6 is going to stay the same, but this negative 3, it's negative, it's got to come to the denominator, so it becomes positive. And z to the negative 9 also has to come to the denominator, and so it can become positive. All right, 17, I'm going to distribute my power first. Okay, remember, we've got to distribute to the coefficient as well. So I'm going to have 2 to the 4th, which is 16, m to the 32nd, 4 times 8 is 32, and n to the negative 8. Everything's okay here except this negative exponent, so I've got to move this negative 8 to the denominator so it becomes positive. All right, last one, number 18. Distribute your power first. Okay, I'm going to have 3 to the 4th. Hold up. I don't know this off the top of my head. Which is 81. C to the negative 12th, D to the negative 20. Okay, I've multiplied. I cannot have negatives in my final answer and my exponents. No negative exponents, so both of those are going to move to the denominator so that they become